Hello, welcome to Epic Battles. Today I'm going to show you Drizzt Do'Urden and his faithful panther Guinevere traipsing through the Underdark. You're going to be battling some nemesis in which they are basically preventing Drizzt from finding his wife, Caddy Bree. So I'm going to run this encounter with Fantasy Grounds, and hopefully that'll help you get an idea of how to use your character sheets and the battle maps and the combat tracker. And I'm going to test this out, and if it works out good, then I might do some more. So here we are. So Drizzt, he's in the Underdark right now, and he is here with his faithful feline, Guinevere. They have both entered a cavern and come out into a worked stone area. Seems to be of drow design, but it looks fairly abandoned. So when they approach this area here on the map, Drizzt starts getting a really bad feeling about the area. So this will begin our tale. Drizzt has just walked through a portal made of stone and onyx, and along the walls is worked stone, reminding him of his people and his homeland. Drizzt is carrying his two famous blades, Twinkle and Icing Death, and his faithful companion Guinevere has been summoned due to the fact that he's having these really bad feelings about this area. Guinevere, what is it? Do you hear something? His cat moves forward and tries to discern what she's sensing. So she goes around the corner to check it out. So Guinevere makes her way around the corner and stops suddenly. Drizzt sees that and notices that she's got her ears up and her tail is twitching, which is a sign that there's some trouble ahead. So Drizzt very carefully moves along the shadows of the wall and tries to find a place to hide out of the direct line of the hallway. Now to either side of the hallway are two open archways, one leading east, one leading west. So he's still kind of unsure about what's going on with Guinevere. So Guinevere returns back, and she gives him the signal that there's trouble ahead. So he waits patiently along with his feline to see what's coming down the hallway. And after a while, he can hear some very faint wispy sounds coming from the hall to the south. So this encounter here is pinned to this area, and lo and behold, it's a couple mind flayers. So I add them to the combat tracker by clicking this down arrow, and now they are basically on the map. So they come into view. Guinevere is basically hiding out, and so is Drizzt. They're not sure if they've been seen, but he did have that feeling earlier, so they might already know that they're there, which would be very unfortunate. So Drizzt takes a peek around the corner and notices that the Illithids have came from the hallway to the southeast. So I'm going to roll stealth for both Drizzt and for his trusty companion Guinevere the panther. So Guinevere has a +10 on stealth, and she is going to roll. She rolled a total of 19. Drizzt, on the other hand, has a really super high stealth, so he's going to roll as well. Ah, he is disadvantaged for his armor that he's wearing. Technically, he's not supposed to have disadvantage because he's wearing mithril chain, so I need to check to see what's going on here. Okay, yeah, stealth disadvantage is marked. That needs to come off. Let's see if that helps his case at all. So I will re-roll that because it was rolled at disadvantage. With the armor that he has on, it should not give him disadvantage. So normally, if it was standard armor, it would. But this is a special, unique armor. It's a mithril chainmail. So it's very graceful chain. It's light and flexible. A mithril chain shirt or breastplate can be worn under normal clothes. If the armor normally imposes disadvantage on dexterity or stealth checks, or has a strength requirement, the mithril version of the armor does not. So I had to go in and make sure that this stealth disadvantage was not checked. And there's also no maximum for stealth advantage here. So he gets full in this case. So I will roll again. And that's a 22. So we're going to roll that against the passive perception of the mind flayers. So the mind flayers have a passive perception of 16. So both Guinevere and Drizzt are hidden. So now I'm going to see if this is going to work out or if it's going to change anything or anything like that. So we'll see. So the two mind flayers are now visible. They're down here in the south. So I'm going to change their visibility because they're still grayed out. They're both visible. And they're kind of hovering towards Drizzt's direction. So I'm going to roll perception once they get close. So this mind flayer kind of hovers here. And he comes to a stop. This one does as well. And they pause momentarily and look around in different directions. They look towards the south, the direction they came, and the direction they're headed, which is north. So I'm going to roll to see if they indeed notice anything, because now they are actively searching. So I'm going to roll perception, and if it beats those rolls, then there's a chance that they will be able to detect Guinevere and Drizzt. $18. So they still didn't quite make their perception check because Guinevere rolled a 19 and Drizzt rolled a 22. So they're still hidden. Or at least they're out of sight. So round one, the first mind flayer, he stops where he's at as if to confer with the other one. And he kind of has his back towards Drizzt. So that might be a good advantageous way to attack. But this one seems to be communicating with the other one. Guinevere gets a little restless, but she ends up quietly moving back this way. Drizzt told her to stay back. And I'm going to roll a stealth check to make sure that she didn't make any noise with her claws dragging on the stone ground. So she moved half her movement rate, and I'm going to roll her stealth check once again. 22. So she's still hidden, and they don't notice she's there. Drizzt, on the other hand, readies his weapons. And if they come close, he's going to lunge out and attack with his two magical scimitars. So I am going to enable his actions, and he is going to basically state that his condition is if they come by him or they float past or whatever, he's going to attack them. Now Drizzt gets 3 attacks with both weapons. He gets 2 attacks for the weapons, and he gets 1 bonus action. So he technically gets 3 attacks. So we'll see what happens. But for right now, he seems to be set on where he is going to remain. And so that will end his turn. This one here moves up 5-10 feet and faces his ally, and they seem to be conversing back and forth. So Drizzt is going to hold his turn until they make any other moves. So this one, he ends up moving up towards Drizzt location and starts heading this way. And as he goes by, Drizzt begins to bear down on him. So that is basically a condition of which this player had stated. So Drizzt is going to get advantage for a surprise attack. And his first attack, he leads in with Twinkle. And Twinkle is one of his scimitars. Now I had to basically add all the effects on here, but if he attacks with Twinkle, he gets a +3 to his armor class. And it illuminates the area with a dim light. So he has that. So this area here is lit up, and he surprises the mind flayer, and he just runs into him and closes the gap, and basically just starts barraging this guy with a bunch of flailing attacks. So I'm going to roll with advantage. The first attack is with his right hand with the scimitar Twinkle. So I'm going to drag this attack roll onto his target. And he was able to score a hit. It really did a number on this creature. So now for the damage. Twinkle's pretty nasty. He took 12 points of damage total. So that really hurt on the creature up here. So now it is the creature's turn. So in response to Drizzt's vicious attack, He turns to Drizzt and he ends up trying to grab him with his tentacles. So immediately his tentacles on his face start snaking out and they try to wrap around Drizzt's head. And they missed. So the tentacles were unable to take him out. So that's basically his turn. And I will have to check again next time. So Guinevere's turn. So she knows that Drizzt is engaged with the rest of the mind flayers. So she moves forward and just shy of her target. But at the last minute, she leaps forward because she has a pounce attack. So she's first going to attack with her claws. But since she's at the end of her turn, she's going to do her pounce instead. So this thing has to make a save versus DC of 12 or become prone. So Guinevere comes running out of the shadows. And at the last minute, she stops and leaps up in the air and basically fills the gap here. And she jumps on the approaching mind flayer. And she basically bites him or tries to claw him, but her first attack is to pounce. So we'll see what happens. So she flies through the air and utterly she fails. She comes to a screeching halt and ends up sliding 10 feet past her target and kind of is discombobulated, and she's going to get disadvantage on her next turn. So this mind flayer just kind of levitated up in the air when she came by, and she just kind of passed harmlessly behind him. So that's her turn. So she rolled a 1. She basically fumbled. Meanwhile, Drizzt is still attacking this mind flayer. So he's got 3 attacks. His first round, he just got that 1 attack off. So this round, he is going to actually use his full attacks. So he's going to attack with the scimitar, icing death first. Oh, nice. He scored a critical hit. And he basically starts off with a crisscross formation. And icing death ends up doing 25 points of total damage. Followed by the other scimitar, icing death, which ends up hitting as well. And that ends up creating 18 more points of damage. So he's nearly taken this mind flayer down. So Drizzt realizes that these things are deadly, so he doesn't want to give them a chance to fully engage them. So it could be one of those things where, you know, the problems will come when somebody tries to basically level out the fight. So we'll see. So the next thing is that Drizzt basically has his bonus action. So I'm going to take a look at these and see if anything else would work in this situation. He has Hunter's Mark. That might help, but I don't think it's necessary right now. And he has Zephyr Strike, which might actually work, but he's already close enough to the Mind Flayer, so I think he's just going to do another attack with his scimitar since he's so close. So his third attack, his bonus action, he strikes another critical hit, and we will see what happens. Wow. So he took the Mind Flayer out. So that basically killed the Mind Flayer in one attack. The Mind Flayer had 72 hit points. So that Mind Flayer is toast. And since he hasn't moved fully, he is going to move 25 feet. So that he can face his opponent. Now his opponent is just coming back down from descending. This Drizzt slid by him. Excuse me, Guinevere. So now I pass the turn to the Mind Flayer. So I'm going to roll a dice. Odd, it's going to be Guinevere. Even, it's going to be Drizzt. Drizzt it is. So the Mind Flayer realizes that Drizzt is the probably the more dangerous assailant. So he is going to do his Mind Blast. So this is a very deadly form of basically a psychic damage natural weapon that Mind Flayers have. So I'm going to execute this attack, and it's basically a cone. So it says the Mind Flayer emits psychic energy in a 60-foot cone. Each creature in that area must succeed on an intelligence check saving throw. And if they don't, then they get full damage. If they fail, the creature will be stunned for 1 minute, which is really deadly. So we'll see what happens. Okay, so the Mind Flayer looks down at Drizzt as it's kind of levitating down to his level, and it focuses its mental energy on Drizzt. And Drizzt has failed, so that's not good. Luckily, this is a recharge, so they can't do it indefinitely. So that really took Drizzt by surprise, and it disoriented him. So he now, in effect, is stunned. So I'm wondering why they don't have the stunned effect. So I will go to Conditions and Effects, and I will take Stunned and drag that right to Drizzt. So now he is stunned. So it stays like that for a full minute. So at that point, the Mind Flayer has taken its turn. And it's going to try to levitate back up to complete its turn. It's already come down about 5 or 10 feet. Now it's going to go back up. So now, Guinevere's turn. So Guinevere moves back about 15 feet. And she still has 35 feet to go. So she's going to run or try to get momentum and jump up in the air and grab the Mind Flayer again with her claws. So she's going to try to attack with her claws and pull this thing down. So first set of claws. And so she went flying by and missed with one claw. And missed with the other. So she wasn't able to get enough momentum. So she's actually over here with Drizzt. So now the Mind Flayer probably get its due. But Drizzt is stunned. He's standing there like, what just happened to me? He dropped his blades and he's just kind of sitting there, really not able to do much. So he tries to reach down and pick up his weapons, but he forgets why he's doing that. And he's just kind of looking around delirious. He's kind of dizzy. And he's having these weird visions of his wife being tortured. So it's really messing with his mind. Basically that really nasty mind blast. So now the mind flayer's turn, and it rolled to see if the mind blasts get to be used. So it didn't recharge. So it's still in the use state. So now the tentacle attack. So it's levitating back down, and it's going to try to basically attack his brain with its tentacles. So it's going to try to wrap its tentacles around Drizzt's skull. And he scored a hit. So 21 is what his total was. He had advantage on that because Drizzt was stunned. So now I'm going to roll the damage itself. Youch. So Drizzt is really in a hurry. This thing's got its tentacles wrapped around him, and it's starting to clamp down, and it's chewing on his side of his face, basically. And let me see. He has to save versus the effect or be stunned again. So now he's grappled. And now he must make an intelligence save or be stunned longer. He's already stunned. That time he succeeded. He rolled a 20. So at the last minute, he breaks the concentration of the mind flayer and is able to shrug off being stunned since he rolled a 20 on his save. So that removes the stunned effect, but it does not take away the fact that the mind flayer still has him held fast. So Guinevere is right there next to him. So she runs up and she tries to slash at him again. She fumbled, so basically she loses her other attack, and she ends up kind of rolling to the side and missing the mind flayer as it moves out of her way. So Drizzt, now that he understands what's happening to him, he's going to try to break this grapple. So he needs to break or roll a strength check over the grapple. So I'm going to roll on his sheet. So on the main sheet, here's a strength check. So he's going to try to break that hold. That's about all he can do right now. Nope. So he is still held fast. The mind flayer, again, the mind blast is trying to recharge. So rather than doing that, he is going to try to dominate his will. So he realizes that the stun is no longer taking effect. So he's going to try to stun Drizzt and charm him. But Drizzt succeeded, so it didn't work. And the mind flayer is just trying to hold its position and stay away from Guinevere's claws. Okay. Guinevere is basically very distraught. She's never had this issue where she's had to miss everything every time. So if the panther moves 20 feet straight toward a creature right before hitting with the claw attack. Okay, so she's rewinding. She's going to move back 20 feet. And she's going to run at it again. So that uses up her movement. And she jumps up in the air and tries to claw this creature with her pounce attack. And she missed. This time her other claw takes a hold of the robes that the mind flayer is wearing, and she's able to start shredding on its body. And there's kind of this greenish blue ichor blood comes out on its side and around its leg. And then she does her pounce attack, so she's just basically grabbing a hold of the creature. But it saved, so it kind of shrugged off her ability to try to grab it and pull it down, but she still gets to roll damage. And she did some nice flesh wounds on the mind flayer, so that's her turn. Drizzt, on the other hand, still needs to break this grapple. He knows he's in very, very serious, grave danger. So again, he's trying to pull away the mind flayer tentacles. So I need to roll a strength check. Luckily, he's not stunned. This time, he comes to the point where he can break free. And he breaks free, and he rolls to the ground and picks up his weapons. And he can't really move away, but he moves over here and rolls to the side and picks up his blades. So that's his turn. However, the mind blast is recharged. He sees that his quarry has gotten away, so he is going to mind blast Drizzt again. And Drizzt actually saved that time. So the mind blast just... Let's see, it says if they save... Yep. So he doesn't get the mind blast. Well, that was close. So this thing is pretty frustrated. So it's going to levitate upward and try to get out of the reach of Guinevere and Drizzt. So he can move roughly 30 feet straight up in the air. So that's his turn, basically. But if he leaves their area for opportunity attack, that's what will happen. But right now he hasn't left just yet. So that's his turn. Guinevere, again, is going to basically just try to attack this time instead of pouncing. But she's going to bite this time. And she misses. So her teeth come clacking uselessly against the mind flayer's quick movements. Drizzt, on the other hand, has now been freed of the grapple and has been subject to 2 attacks. And he's like, this is not good. So he is going to finish this guy off if he can. So he's going to take his scimitar Twinkle, and he scores a hit. And Twinkle does 14 points of damage on that first strike, followed by Icing Death. And Icing Death strikes true. And does quite a bit of damage. I mean, he's already pretty much obliterated this creature, so this thing is stabbed all over the place. It's got gashes and slashes all over it. And then the bonus action he's going to take is a follow through with Twinkle once again. And he scores a nice hit. And he ends up doing 18 more points of damage. So that creature is pretty much messed up. But he recharges his mind blast and tries to blast Drizzt again this time. Because he realizes that his strength and his tentacles didn't really keep him for very long. And Drizzt succeeded. So that was his attack. Guinevere again tries to recover from missing. She kind of hops up and tries to slash at him with her 2 claws. However, her first strike missed. Her second one is a critical hit. So she ends up snagging this guy and does 7 points of damage. And basically, she ends up pulling him down and bringing him to ground level so that this mind flayer can't get away. So she's basically trying to hold him until Drizzt gets his turn. And he sees the opening, so he's going to have advantage on the first attack because Guinevere kind of has this thing grappled. So I'll put the grappled effect on. And I'm going to roll for the first attack from Twinkle. Youch! So Twinkle scores a landing hit, and it basically guts the creature, and all this goo and ichor comes out. So basically that creature is no more. So it just falls to the ground in this pool of bluish green liquid. And Drizzt kind of wipes his blades off, disgusted. And he says, Guinevere, thank you. That was a close one, girl. So that kind of concludes this. They're going to continue on through the Underdark together and look for his beloved Caddy Bree. And before then, they're going to take a short little rest and hide out in one of these tunnels. So I'm going to hit menu and rest, and I'm going to give him a short rest. And during that time, Drizzt has elected to use a couple of his hit die recovery. So there's 2 hit die recovery. And he's still pretty badly wounded. So they don't look like they're going to be doing anything for a while. So that concludes that little battle of the epic heroes and characters, the Forgotten Realms. I might do this again, or at least conclude it. Maybe I'll bring in Brunner or some of his other friends, but I still have to make them. And I'm going to have Lady Shell actually help me build all this stuff up so we can turn these into really good content for the website and for our community. So thanks for watching, and I hope to see you again. Bye-bye.